Welcome to the Limitless Podcast. The Limitless Podcast is centered around exactly that, being limitless. Hunting, fishing, fitness, nutrition, adventure, disabilities. What may be covered during the Limitless Podcast will be, well, limitless. Stay tuned for this episode of the Limitless Podcast. So you're listening to another Limitless Podcast. This podcast is a little bit of a, not necessarily a twist, but it's very different from what the majority of my podcasts are, that's focused on some type of hunting adventure, hunting equipment, hunting opinion, or mentality. This podcast is focused on the A3G Initiative, which is the annual amputee archery grant initiative. And for the first time, we have 3 board members sitting here together in person. And we are with our recipient for 2024. And we also have one of my relatives who is a videographer who's with us capturing through a camera the historics of this event. So I have Dustin Pruett right here to my right. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, for those of you that are listening in, you just paint the picture that we're sitting in a very rustic structure, Air BnB type, and we have 3 high quality bows behind us because we're at an actual archery event, and we're sitting on a couch almost shoulder to shoulder. To my right, I have Dustin Pruett, the 2024 A3G Initiative recipient. Next to him is one of the board members, that's a mouthful, Christopher Dunlap. To his right is Michael Warnick of Stoic Survival. And then we have down on the end another board member for the grant, Michael Sims. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, everybody, to this incredible podcast on behalf of the A3G Initiative.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it. It's been a really cool experience coming up to this. It's changed a lot of perspectives for me, and I'm sure it's changed a lot of others outside of myself. So I appreciate it. It's been a great experience. And yeah.
You've spent a lot of time behind the camera at this event.
Yeah.
Which I think you're getting pretty good at. Yeah, really appreciate you being here. How about, this is only going to work, gentlemen, if you guys talk. Because if not, everybody's going to get really tired of hearing me talk through this entire episode. And it's actually the first time I've ever heard Chris Dunlap be so quiet.
I was waiting for you to finish your diatribe there, his monologue.
His monologue?
Yeah.
Well, dive in.
It is a great event to come to. Eric Griggs at GAS kind of put this idea in Aaron's head at ATA, and it's great to see it all come together, and hopefully we can keep doing it going forward.
So the premise behind that idea was, as we've shared in other media content, the A3G was founded and structured around the idea or the concept of leveraging the benefits of archery to improve the mental and physical quality of life for amputees. And I pursued that because of what archery has done for me. And it's not just amputees that archery will have a positive impact on, but being an amputee myself, I wanted to share those benefits with others. And it has drawn the attention of some incredible companies and supporters in the archery and outdoor industry. And GAS, Eric Griggs, and the GAS Bowstring team has been on board with the grant since year 1. They provide custom strings for the grant bow every year. And when we say provide custom strings, Eric doesn't just say, hey, tell us what bow you have for the recipient that year, and we will send you strings that either we have in the shop or that one of his team members builds on behalf of the grant. We are provided the opportunity to choose the exact string and some of the colors that we might want on the string that year. So they've been with us since year one. And as Chris Dunlap mentioned at the ATA, he approached me and we talked about the hunt. We added the hunt last year, which was an incredible and is an incredible aspect of the grant. But Eric approached me and he said, I want to add more to the foundation and the actual purpose of and your vision of what A3G is. He said, how about if we bring your recipient and the bow and all of the accessories to the GAS facility and have the recipient be a part of the bow build, which is a change from the first 2 years, and then provide them with some one-on-one coaching and or group coaching with the staff shooters that we have here in the local area of Clay City, Kentucky. And he said, let's really establish that journey, because that's what archery truly is. It's not just picking up a bow and an arrow and going out and sending it down range at a target, right? It's a 100% a journey, whether you're using it for a improvement in your mental health, whether you're using it to become a podium level target archer, whether you're using it for hunting activities, or you just thought it would be something interesting to do and a fun pastime, you're still entering a journey with that bow and arrow. And I would bet that every single person sitting on this couch next to me, and they're probably going to verbalize that here in just a second, that everybody here entered archery for a purpose, that they're on a journey. And even for Mike, our videographer, you're not an avid archer. However, the impact that the archery community and the A3G and what we're doing here is having an impact on your life, even though you don't shoot a bow every single day and you don't necessarily hunt with a bow right now, it's still having an impact on your life. Archery is such a valuable tool. Thoughts?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no,
You
go ahead and respond to that, absolutely.
Yeah, it really is about the journey, but I was just thinking when you said it leads to a bunch of different things, it's really one of the only things where you have to know yourself inside and out for it to work. But once you understand it, it works for you. You develop the skills to get better at it, and then it teaches you about yourself. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into being whether you're a target archer or you're a hunter or you just like to plink in the backyard. There's so many aspects to the bow, to the arrow, to the equipment that you're using to release it, to all that stuff that it really makes you sit back and think. You know, you're really internalizing what you can do to be successful, and the success is that one great arrow down target. So you can sit back and you can take all those different pieces of the archery world, however you pick them apart and whatever your end game is, and you create a journey to get there. So you make it as easy and as complicated as you want to, depending on how successful you want to be. But this grant and this weekend and being around the GAS folks has changed the way I think about archery, because now I see how it impacts people, not just the recipient, but the people around the recipient, and how all of that, and we'll get into the success of this weekend, but just to see how all of that kind of went out through the building, people that weren't even part of the bow build and the shooting, and you mentioned it yesterday, Dustin, and the people that were actually in the factory working, or not factory, but the build portion of the strings, would file in and poke their head in to see how Dustin was doing. Archery will grab you, pull you in, and give you this big hug, and then now your journey starts because you're like, oh my, look at that, this is fun, this is enjoyable. So, yeah, archery is just, it's so much fun and frustrating. There's some days that your arrows like the target, and like I said this morning, some days your arrow is scared of the target. So, yeah, you can create your own personal journey, and it can be as frustrating or as rewarding as you make it.
Sometimes in the same day.
In the same minute.
Yeah.
Sometimes the same handful of arrows.
Yep.
Yes.
You can be holding, you can have 5 arrows in your quiver, and the first arrow is brilliant, and the next 4 are not, or the first 3 are great, and the next 2 you never find.
That's why
You
I number
just-
them. That's why I number them, and the ones that don't go to the center, I just throw them out and pick up a new one.
you just, you know, it's and it provides such great mental clarity, you know, and
It makes you aware. You have to be aware of everything you're doing.
it does. And, you know, I talk about using A3G to improve the mental and physical quality of life of an amputee. I truly believe, having experienced this, that archery itself can and may provide greater healing than the 4 walls and ceiling and interaction with a mental health specialist. I'm not taking away from the benefits of mental health and, well, not mental health, but working with a mental health specialist. I've experienced it. I've reaped the benefits from it. That's because I wanted it. And that is a fact. If you're forced to go to therapy, it's not going to benefit you because it's a forced function. Other people or other organizations are forcing you to go. You have to want it. You have to want that process to work. When people pick up a bow, and I'll even speak on Dustin's behalf right now. When people pick up a bow, they're not forced. Now, granted, and Dustin's going to share this here in a hot second, Dustin did not apply to the A3G for a compound bow. He applied with the thought process because we had an option on our application for a crossbow. He wanted a crossbow.
Yep.
He had a fear of the bow because he did not think he could do it. So, but the fact is Dustin pursued the idea of archery. When people go to a therapist, again, they're often forced. When people navigate to archery and the bow, they're navigating there on their own. And then once they pick that tool up, because it really is a tool, it begins to transform their life. And what it does to them mentally is positive. The places it will take them is positive. And then the physical aspect of it, you really can't shoot a bow from your lazy boy or your couch. Now, you can shoot indoors and jeopardize the safety of your refrigerator, or you can go into your backyard, or you can go to a formal outdoor 3D range or an indoor range. You can shoot from a chair, you can shoot from a wheelchair, you can shoot standing up, you can shoot with your feet. But the beauty of it is you're moving. You're moving your body, you're adding a physical activity into your life, you're getting out of the dark environment of your couch or your chair or your bed, and you're moving into an atmosphere where you're surrounding yourself with other people in a positive athletic sport, and it has a great impact in the right direction.
You're taking one step at a time.
Absolutely.
One foot in front of the other.
Yep. One arrow at a
You're
time.
going forward.
One,
Yep.
Yeah.
One
There's
arrow at a time.
No back. No backwards. No reverse.
And Dustin, when you filled out the application for the A3G, you wanted a crossbow.
I did. When I was filling it out, I was apprehensive of the thought of a compound bow because of my hand, and I had a bad experience with archery at some point, and I didn't realize that when something happens when I was so little, that it just kind of stuck with me, and I put it behind my head, in the back of my head, and moved on. So when I came across the initiative and applied for it, I put in for a crossbow. And then I get the phone call, and we had, I think it was an hour and a half, almost 2-hour conversation.
It was lengthy.
It was very lengthy about some different options that I had to shoot a compound bow, and ultimately here I am. I made the decision to just go for it. And
Do you remember what the biggest option of that phone call was?
to just quit.
No, it wasn't to quit, but I was very transparent in the fact that the A3G is built on the foundation of overcoming obstacles. And that's what we do. And so although the board has placed the option for a compound bow on our application, and we do have a top crossbow company supporting the grant and offering the opportunity of a crossbow to an applicant, we have set the standard that if you're not missing both limbs, upper limbs, if you're not a bilateral upper limb amputee, we do not offer a crossbow, because we know that there is a way for us to have you shooting a compound bow effectively, efficiently, and ethically if you choose to hunt with it. So that conversation that you and I had, I more or less gave you an ultimatum and told you that we wanted you to be our recipient for this year, but we were not giving you a crossbow. And if you weren't willing to move away from being anchored to that crossbow and not overcoming some obstacles of, past experience, the thought that you can't, told you that if that's where you're at, you're stuck on the crossbow, then we're not going to select you. You have to trust the process, and you have to trust us and our ability to help you be successful. And
That's kind of what I was meaning by when I said quit.
Okay.
Just not move forward, just be done with it, and kind of stay stuck there. And I'm excited that I did.
You're not stuck anymore.
Yeah, I'm not stuck anymore.
you're stuck with us.
I'm stuck with this couch full of people here.
and the GAS team.
Yep, and the GAS team.
Yep.
I really look forward to having a trip down here again to meet with them and see them again, and of course with you guys too. That would be awesome to just shoot again at some point. And obviously we're going to do that here in a couple months, but I'm talking just in the future, beyond this.
So do you remember off the top of your head what bow you're shooting?
The Hoyt, is it the Alpha X33?
That is correct. Yep. So I've got to send some gratitude to Chris Ham at HHA Sports and the founder of HHA USA. Chris is actually the individual that kind of unbeknownstly planted the seed in me to start this program. And Chris has walked with me through that journey from day one. And he's been very instrumental in connecting A3G and the board members with certain companies, and companies that willingly want to be a part of this success, and they provide some incredible products and support for what we're doing. And Chris has been through the journey with our program on not just acquiring a solid bow, because we've had 2 solid bows in the previous 2 years, but to help us start developing more of a connection and relationship with the bow company. And it was this last January that Chris Ham connected me with Evan Williams at Hoyt Archery. And when Evan and I were able to get our schedules together, and we got on the phone with each other and to hash out some email traffic that we had, Evan was really excited to be a part of the A3G Initiative and Limitless Outdoors. And they threw everything but the kitchen sink at Dustin. And one of the beauties of this year was not only did Hoyt come to the table via communication and phone and say, hey, we are offering everything at Hoyt's disposal. They actually followed through with it. And that I was apprehensive about that. And when I say they offered everything at Hoyt's disposal, all the grant was asking for was a bow. We weren't asking for a specific color or a specific pattern. We were asking that they provide a flagship and or high-end bow from their lineup that fits the recipient for the year, and that they provide either a left or a right-hand bow with limbs that match the poundage that our recipient can efficiently and ethically shoot. And he said, that's great, but that's not good enough. He said, we want to offer your recipient the opportunity to choose the flagship bow that we believe will fit them the best, because they know what they're doing. And we want them to build that bow out on our website so they have every option at Hoyt's disposal for that bow. And we want to provide every piece of equipment on this bow that we possibly can. So they gave Dustin the ability to go to their website, and they due to Dustin's draw length and experience and everything, they recommended the Alpha X33, which I shoot one. It is hands down the smoothest, nicest shooting bow that I've ever owned. So it is a flagship of the flagship bows. Really is. Shoots lights out. They let him choose his riser color. They let him choose his limb color. They provided stabilizer. They provided a back bar system. They provided the Ghost Sticks, the Ghost Stick 2.0, which is Hoyt's proprietary bow stand. They provided their quiver. It was really cool. They would have, if we did not
offered the site.
They offered us an arrest, but we already had, through HHA Sports, we already had one of their flagship sites for this year. The Rise 3 Max is what Hoyt or HHA donated. And then we have a bow shop up in the Northeast. It's Frontline Archery. They donate a Hamsky Epsilon every year, and they have it customized. It says "Be Limitless" on the rest. And so, you know, we told Evan that we did not need the Hoyt drop away rest for the build this year, because we already had the Epsilon. But and not only did they offer that, they actually came through in a very shortened time period, so that once we identified the recipient and what his bow needs were, they pulled a rapid turnaround on that bow build and had it sitting at the GAS facility for Dustin to arrive and build and shoot. And I have to give huge thanks out to Hoyt for not only offering what they did, but to follow through with that and actually provide the bow this year and all the accessories at a location that we needed it to be. It was awesome.
They also sent an extra set of limbs if we needed to change limbs for a different poundage.
You know what, Chris? Thank you for bringing that up. Share the details on that, because that's important.
So Dustin, you went to a Hoyt shop to look at them and see which one you thought you wanted, and make sure you needed a left hand or right hand because your eye dominance issues. And then you had tried a 70-pound bow there, and Aaron and I were talking. It's easy to pull a 70-pound bow back in the bow shop one time. It's another thing to be able to do it hundreds of times, especially in the first day you've shot a compound bow. So we ordered your bow with 60 to 70-pound limbs, and then I don't know if it was Braden or Eric's idea.
It was the foresight of the GAS team.
Yeah, it might have been Eric's idea. So hey, let's call Hoyt and get a set of 50 to 60-pound limbs, just in case.
Yep.
The 70-pound limbs are going to be too much. We've got it. If we have them, we got them here. We can swap them out in 15 minutes, and we're not stuck with a bow that somebody can't use, or waiting, another month for a set of limbs or a new bow. So they stepped up and sent us a backup set of limbs that turns out we don't need. And they can go back to Hoyt, go on somebody else's bow, but just them stepping up and doing that and saying, hey, we're gonna do everything to make sure he's successful with our product.
It was incredible. And in the 3 years that this 501c3 has been running and impacting the lives of amputees, we've had 3 different bow brands with the grant. The first year was Prime, and Prime's a great bow. Prime makes a stellar bow. I think the Black 3 was still probably, of the 3 Primes that I've owned, I think my Black 3 was my favorite of all 3 of them. That first year was doing the majority of the grant on my own. It was tough, very rewarding, but I worked through a bow shop to obtain that Prime, and that bow shop worked directly with Prime, and I met some folks from Prime, great company, great people, and they provided a amazing bow for the grant that first year. They didn't want to return the second year, which was heartbreaking for me. And that's where Elite came into the picture. And Elite initially offered the moon. And by the time we were able to get a bow in the recipient's hand, we were working through a bow shop to obtain not the actual bow that the recipient may have wanted or had been promised. We worked through a bow shop to get an Elite bow on behalf of Elite and get it in the hands of the recipient. And that's for us at the A3G. There's 5 board members. It's been a challenge and a struggle and a need for us. And we knew that we wanted to try to build that relationship with a bow company that would be more than just donating a bow. And this year, that's what we obtained through Hoyt, and it's been an amazing experience, hands down.
Well, and the bow is the cornerstone to the whole deal. You can get a sight, a quiver, and arrows, and all the targets you want, but if you don't have the bow, it doesn't do you any good.
We don't have the annual Amputee Archery Grant Initiative without a bow. That's just, you can't shoot an arrow unless you have stick and string or a riser and limbs and strings. I mean, you can't do it,
No.
right? So yeah, it's important. It absolutely is important, and I think Hoyt saw the value in what we were doing, and they wanted to jump in and be a big part of it this year. And I actually met Evan at the Pennsylvania Total Archery Challenge, and what a stellar human. He's big into functional fitness. He's huge into archery. He's an avid hunter. He is a very personable individual that really wants to make a positive impact on the outdoor industry. Not just Hoyt. He wants to make a positive impact on the outdoor industry. And that was pretty awesome, being face to face with him and being able to put a voice and the face and a handshake to the communication, the phone calls that we've had. And I've become a huge Hoyt fan. That's why I'm shooting one. And they are hands down an incredible bow. And Dustin proved yesterday the capabilities of that Alpha X33. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. Talk about blow your mind.
My mind's still blown.
Your mind.
Yeah. One other company that I want to talk about here really quick, because it has everything to do with shooting the bow, getting that first arrow down range, and then also talking about what some of these companies in the archery industry are willing to do to ensure that somebody like Dustin can efficiently shoot a bow.
How about Robin at Hot Shot?
That's who I'm getting ready to talk about, Chris.
You want me to talk about the release?
In just a second.
Okay.
Hot Shot has been part of the grant for 3 years now. So there are a couple of companies that we'll talk about that have been with the grant since almost month 1. There's several companies that as soon as they received my email 3 years ago, they said we're in. And Robin Parks at Hot Shot is one of them. And they've provided the PEEP and the release for all 3 years. And we reached out to Robin because Dustin has he has some complications with his right hand, and we knew that a regular index release was going to cause some issues. So we got on the phone with Robin. Talk about that release, Chris, please.
Yeah, so like Aaron was saying, Dustin's got some dexterity issues with his right hand, and was worried that he wasn't going to be able to manipulate an index finger release, to a high level, and more importantly, be repeatable with it, which is key in anything you do with archery. So Robin recommended their index was the Hayes.
It's the Hayes, but
The Hayes,
also
or the thumb release.
not only can he not manipulate that index release correctly time and time again, doesn't have the ability to grip a standard like thumb release.
Yeah, so Robin recommended their Hayes. It has a wrist strap like an index release, but it's a thumb button, and we made a couple minor tweaks to the post where the thumb button is on the post, and Dustin was able to right away pick that up and manipulate it.
And pretty much outshoot everybody on the A3G board.
Yep. You shoot lights out.
I had to put my bow away.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing. Shooting the target next to him.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we truly shot in the shadow of Dustin yesterday.
So
Well,
Dustin could talk about what this means, but I don't know how well y'all will be able to see it on the camera, but this is Dustin's first arrow.
Very first arrow.
At 20 yards. So we started it at 10 just to get some adjustments to the bow made and make sure he could hit the bale and not the concrete wall behind it. And we went back to 20 yards, and Dustin's first 20-yard shot with a bow is right here.
So, Chris, for people that are not on YouTube, please explain where right here is.
Right there is in the bullseye, dead center, on a bow target.
On the lower right leg of the X.
Yes.
It broke the line.
No, it didn't break the line. It's inside out.
That's the correct term.
That is a true 10 in the X, and that's amazing.
It was like having a great dinner when everybody sits down and everybody's chit-chatting and talking, having a good time. Then the food hits the table and everybody puts the bite in their first, the first bite in their mouth, and then it's just absolute silence. The range, absolutely everybody, there was probably 8-9 people in there, went silent as soon as that arrow hit. And everybody actually had to take a second look. Binoculars came up and went, holy crap! That thing is in the bullseye.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, I was asking what? What?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
I want to give a shout out to Michael Sims, who's referencing a meal that is so good that shuts a room down. Michael is speaking from experience. Michael is a 26-year Navy veteran. He was not a cook for the Navy. Michael was a chef for the Navy. Michael has a pedigree of courses, classes, training, schooling, certificates of being a chef. And I have witnessed the culinary, what's the word that I'm looking for? Prowess. The culinary prowess of Michael Sims, where he makes a massive mess in the kitchen. I mean, holy cow. It's almost like Disney movie, like what's the Little Mermaid, like when that chef is in there just destroying that kitchen, the dude and makes a lot of noise in there. And when his food fare hits the table, I have literally been in the room sitting at the table when everybody takes a bite, and it just goes silent, and you can see the look on people's face like, holy cow, this is good. So when he talks,
Fair and Gordon Ramsay over here.
when he talks about, when he references what happened yesterday on that 20-yard range at the gas facility, it's no joke. Michael knows what it's like to be able to shut a room down with a food fair performance. And so when he equates that shot yesterday, literally, it's almost like all the machines in the facility just stopped. It was just like a pin drop. It was like that just happened.
Well, I appreciate you. You're so sweet. I appreciate it. But and just to be fair, this is my first year on the board. I'm the newest board member.
Well, we needed a camp cook.
You need
Chef, I'm sorry.
Camp chef.
Chef.
Well, you know why chefs make such a big mess? They're different than cooks. Cooks have to clean up after themselves. Chefs usually have some peons and sous chefs.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
Clean up.
I really think I'm actually a pretty clean dang cook. Anyway.
I saw that kitchen last night.
You didn't pick anything up to clean it.
Oh.
No, I appreciate the gesture and just being on this board. I got on the board after the selection process, so I'm really looking forward to next year when I can actually sit down and look at the and I love when you say applicants. It makes me giggle every time. And be able to look through those and formulate and whatever the process is, because this 3, and I'm glad I decided to come out, because me and my wife we're right in the middle of moving, and my wife's getting ready to do change of command, and so our schedules are stacked. We are so busy, and there was 3 days this week that I didn't have, and I'm building custom cutting boards and all that, and there was 3 days this week that I could just break away. So I jumped on a plane and flew here, and this week, I always want to say weekend, these 3 days and you, Dustin, have transformed my life. I am not kidding. The things that have happened over the 3 days, not just with everybody sitting at this table or this couch, but with the GAS team, and I can't say enough. We had them over for dinner last night. They are the most awesome people. And when we're archers, and all we do is sit at home and hit the button to order our strings or order our bows or order our equipment or order this or that, we don't understand or catch the gravity of the gratitude of the people that are on the other end of that click. Most people don't get to meet these folks because they're just regular folk.
They're down to earth.
They want to help. But being here and being with this team and being part of this grant process, I am fired up about next year, because this weekend and you have changed my life. It's given me a new aspect on what is possible.
Yeah.
Because I'm really tired of my arrows being afraid of the target. So I just want to thank you right off the bat for making your mind up, and we had long talks about your ability and what the things you went through as a young child, and when your legs were amputated and you're having problems with your hand, and I couldn't shoot a bow. I can't shoot a bow. There's no way I can shoot a bow. I can't shoot a bow. And I was like, there are always ways to shoot a bow.
Well, and I think Dustin, when you came into this, for so many years, you've been focusing on your disability or inability.
What you can't do.
And now you can focus on your ability. You
was
talk about it some.
I was just trying to gather my thoughts here on that. I was like,
Dustin, how old were you when you were at my understanding is that you were at a camp of some sort.
yes.
And somebody was it a recurve?
I'm not even sure. I'm pretty sure it was just one of those Target compounds you can get from the store.
Okay.
And there was no release for it, so I had to use the leather finger deals.
Finger tabs.
The finger tabs and draw it, and there wasn't real coaching for it. It was just because most people just pick stuff up and go for it, but it wasn't what I needed, and it was that experience that just kind of turned me the wrong way. Like it sat with me, and I didn't realize that it sat with me until yesterday when that entire weight went away.
What was it? So, three of us sitting here on this couch actually watched you send your first arrow. Michael was observing it through the lens of a camera. You experienced it. What was it like standing in front of those targets and drawing that bow for the first time, and then pulling through the release and feeling that bow recoil, hearing that arrow hit the target? Because I can tell you what I saw and what I heard, and most everybody in the room saw and heard something very similar. It was absolutely amazing. What was it? What was it for you?
When I picked up the bow, I was like, excuse me, I was still apprehensive, of course, but I got the release in my hand, and when I clipped the release to the string, it was like, well, it's now or now. It's not, there's no never on it. It's actually happening. And then when I raised and actually drew, I was like, all right, I just drew. There's the biggest hurdle right there, hands down. But then once I sent that arrow and released, and there was no issues, it was just like, I want to describe it as like a light bulb. The light bulb went off like, hold on, you've been thinking all wrong this whole time. It's hard to have words for something like that, because I'm still what, 24 hours or more out from that first shot initially, and I'm still in like shock. It's hard to even describe the feeling of not having that in the back of my mind that anymore. Like, because I wrote it off. Well, it's no longer wrote off. It's gone. Mm-hmm. That feeling went away when that first shot went off. Albeit it was just the making sure everything was adjusted. But when I pulled out that first shot,
I would say it was adjusted.
I mean, yeah. When I squeezed off that first shot, it went away.
Your reaction was amazing.
Well, I can tell you, just being an observer, and even after the first shot, we were always worried about, and you were worried about stability issues. And we shot from standing, which you shot well, and then we sat you on a chair like you would shoot from a blind.
And Michael, we did not have you shoot from a chair because you can't shoot standing on two metal legs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For the listeners or YouTube watchers, Dustin ended up shooting from the seated position most of yesterday.
Kitchen chair. Yeah.
But we placed him there because come October, when he's in Texas with the A3G whitetail hunt, he'll be shooting out of a ground blind from a seated position. And Dustin has communicated that the majority of his hunting opportunity in Indiana is out of a ground blind. So although we want him to shoot from a standing position, and there's for having shooting with metal legs, shooting from a standing position is absolute empowerment, and it's going to provide so many benefits. We put him in the chair yesterday because we wanted him to start focusing on shooting from a seated position to get the draw weight established and the anchor point established and shooting from that seated position. It's not because he couldn't. It's because it's where we needed him to shoot from. And Michael, carry on. I mean, it was like
Preparation.
Just watching it.
Yeah, and kind of where I was going with that is, we as archers standing, some of us have a problem of getting our bow out and getting it stable and holding that. and not having that figure eight so bad, and you're trying to control that a little bit and relax. And you are probably the most stable shooter I have ever seen when it comes to draw and have your bow out in front of you. I swear to goodness, that sight does not move. When you get it out there and you're locked in and you got your eyes set and you got your little nose button on there and you hold it, and I watch your sight to see how much walk you have, literally almost none. And that is why you sat at 30 yards yesterday, and the young lady, I forget her name.
Sarah.
She said, yeah, that number one shot was great, but you know what was awesome? When you were sitting at 30 yards and you were just below the bullseye, but you grouped them in the side, like 4 or 5 arrows in the size of a silver dollar. And she says, we can't do that. And they're professional target archers. And she's like, it's just amazing. You know, you may not have the ability to run a marathon right now, but you dang sure have the ability to hold a bow absolutely still and get groceries, if that's what you end up choosing to do.
He's got no choice. He's coming to Texas, and he's going to kill it here.
I'm talking about the future. You know? And maybe after this deer hunt, you know, you were like, okay, but you really get into the target archery, and you start enjoying the atmosphere of being with other people and going to events in Indiana, and then you never know where this is going, because we went to, where did we go for the last year when we were with Tom Caro and all those at the event?
That was one of Chris Ham's HHA USA events.
Mission 23.
His mission was it Mission 23?
Yeah,
it was at
22.
It was at Vortex.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I had ever went out and actually shot 3D with other people. And now I'm gonna build an ATA bow, because that was so much fun to hang out with those folks and shoot, and then after get together and fellowship and talk and meet some people from the industry, and you're just gonna get wrapped up in you're just gonna meet people, and you're young, you've got a whole life ahead of you. And I'm getting into this on the tail end, the ATA and the target bow shooting, or the 3D shooting, kind of halfway through my life. But you never know where your journey's going to take you. You know, you never, after you harvest your first animal with a bow, then you're going to make decisions on which path you're going to take. And you may just end up taking both and having 2 bows and going out and having fun with people. Because it's really about connecting with people. That's the real key to this, and just, yeah, I love archery. I don't even like picking my rifles up anymore. They're in their rifle cases in the closet, and my bow stays out on the kitchen table. So yeah, it's just you really surprise a lot of people. I don't know that you've really caught the gravity of what you accomplished yesterday. I mean, the number one archer on the planet, and I'm sure we'll talk about him if we're going to talk about him. His eyes were this big. I mean, it looked like a cartoon when you were shooting. He couldn't believe how well you shot with the disabilities that you have, that we overcame, and then just go boop, one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other. It was just amazing. Yeah.
Did you have fun?
I had a lot of fun. I'm feeling it today because, man, I lost count after like 10 arrows.
You probably shot 150 arrows yesterday.
I'm feeling it today.
Easily, Chris.
Yeah, I'm feeling it today.
And
but
like I told you yesterday, you used muscles that you never, and you use muscle when you're shooting a bow. You use muscles in a direction that you don't use in anything else.
I've figured that out. I woke up this morning like, oh my goodness, like here it is. But it's like all that was because like all of that is just this in the back of my mind because of what happened yesterday. Like I'm hurting, but it just doesn't matter because at this point it's like, okay, I've got something. And now it's go time. Recover a little bit, and then it's full speed ahead.
We'll put you back on the range.
Oh, I know I'm getting back on the range this morning.
We're going to get you loosened up.
And
But 150 arrows.
pain is weakness leaving the body.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Mike, for right now, what was it like looking through the lens of that viewfinder on your camera yesterday?
It's interesting because, like, I'm sure when Dustin looks through the peep, that's all he's focused on. So I kind of tune out the outside world and I'm just focused on the viewfinder. But there's always that part of me trying to look over, see what's going on with him, because he is such a genuine person. To sit there and see his reaction to everything is, I think, what made it for all of us. So I'm going back and forth from the viewfinder to look at him, just like trying to take it in for myself, because I'm living through the camera.
You don't want to miss it.
But I don't want to miss it in that moment either. Because it's hard to explain, because I truthfully haven't had another experience like that. But when I look through that camera, I saw it hit the target, and it's like I watched it happen again when I look back up. If that makes any sense. I watched it happen on the camera. I look up, and everybody's looking right there too. Like, did that just happen? It was so cool to look through a lens and have the story tell itself. Usually I'm looking for a story that's not there, taking selective shots to make something happen, and you made that story happen. It was really, really cool, and I think the people around you made it just as cool, because to see everybody get that excited, it was such a beautiful thing, and we have it all on camera, so now everybody else outside of this event can get even a part of that same feeling. It's absolutely incredible.
You know, GAS, what happened here, all encompassing, really exemplifies the spirit of archery and the archery community and the hunting community. When we arrived, so let's backtrack. We experienced adversity just in this event. So Chris Dunlap made arrows for Dustin for this event alone. Excuse me. There's a company, an incredible U.S.-based company. It's Zinger Fletches, which I'm a massive fan of Zinger Fletches, and Kanadi Arrows. Same group of guys. It's a fletching company and a custom arrow company. They have supported the grant from year one as well. And they're going to build Dustin a dozen custom arrows. But not knowing what his poundage was going to be and what everything was going to settle out at, we didn't know if he was going to need like a 350 spine or a 300 spine. So we did not want Zinger and Kanadi Arrows to build this custom set of arrows, not knowing specifically what we were going to need. So the grant picked up a half dozen 350s, Victory shafts, and 300s, and Chris put them together in Texas, and then he was bringing them with him. Well, when he left Austin, Texas,
my bow case did not.
His bow case did not. The Delta Airlines decided they needed to retain that bow case in Austin for another flight cycle. So from the very beginning, we were already experiencing obstacles that we were potentially going to have to overcome. And Mike and I arrived. Well, actually, Michael Sims arrived first, and he was halfway through a private tour when Mike and I arrived. And we were in Eric Griggs' office talking about it, and I immediately let him know that, hey, we already have a hurdle that we might have to overcome. We may not have our arrows. Came up with a plan to try to overcome that. And they welcomed us into the facility like we were family and or 10-year employee. We were just, this place is yours.
It's like I never knew them. Or it's like I've always known them.
Yep. It's like our home is your home. And, we started navigating how we were going to work our time together. And we went down and we started building the bow. Dunlap was going to just hang out at the Lexington airport, wait for his bow case to bring the arrows down. So we went out and started building the bow. And we started pulling everything out of the counter, and things were looking real good. And they put the bow in the vise, and we started putting accessories on the bow. And we opened up the hamski packaging and pulled this customized Epsilon out, and found that when the package was shipped, they didn't put the core lock mount back in the package, so we had no way to mount the hamski onto the bow, which that's worse than arrows being lost in transit. I mean, we're at the GAS facility. There's buckets and containers of arrows everywhere, so we could easily put together a handful of arrows for him to shoot while we were here. But not being able to put a rest on the bow is a massive problem. And so we got to overcome that obstacle. And how did we do that? We came together as a family and a team, and we started peeling that onion back. How are we going to solve this problem? Aaron Adams, where he lives, he is associated with the bow shop there.
And he's one of the GAS employees.
He is. And he was like, hey man, I'm just going to run out to the archery shop. He said, I'm almost positive that we have Epsilons there. He said, I'll just go out and I'm just going to grab one of those, the core lock mounting bracket. I'll just grab it out of a package, and we'll deal with hamski after the fact. And Eric comes out of his office, and he's like, I've got a Hamski Trinity over there he said, that's a brand new bow. I just built that bow. I haven't even really set it up yet. He said, that Trinity Hunter is sitting on, just take that Trinity Hunter off my bow. And, I'm running through the process of how I envisioned seeing this event happen. And I was hyper-focused on using the rest that was provided. And, they were looking at Cabela's. There's a Cabela's within, less than an hour away. And I'm not really motivated to
Everybody was on the hunt.
Yeah.
They were, but we weren't really motivated to spend money at Cabela's. There's a couple of bow shops up in Lexington that we could have fell on, or looked at for support. We even started looking at, at QADs, because when Aaron got to the bow shop near his home, they did not have an Epsilon for him to open up and grab the bracket from, and he called us on the phone and we were talking about it. And then he got Eric on the phone, and Eric was adamant. He's like, Aaron, I have multiple Trinity Hunters. You're not impacting my life or my ability to shoot if we take that Trinity Hunter off of that bow and put it on the bow. And as Eric and Aaron and I are on this three-way call, Aaron says, holy cow, I just found a Hamski bracket sitting here on the bow bench with the mounting bolt for it. He's like, I've got it. We have options. So we all got back to the shop and put the bow together. We had obstacles through this event, but the end result was incredible. It was poetic. It was perfect. It was watching this young man who is missing both of his lower limbs, who has a deformity on his right hand, 4 fingers, has a loss of strength, grip, and motor skill in the right hand, pick up a vertical cross compound bow. Now, we've been communicating that he's never shot a compound bow. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, if you were a young person at a summer camp, if they did have a wheel bow, it was a straight up fiberglass wheel bow, not a true compound bow. There were no adaptions for you, no coaching for you, nobody there that could really say, hey, this is how we're going to make this happen. To watch you pick up that Hoyt flagship bow with everything under the only thing that wasn't on that bow was a quiver, and a quiver full of arrows. So huge transition to connect that release, come to full draw, and just start tack driving arrows into a target from 5 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, and by the end of the first day, I did not foresee this happening. By the end of the first day, and the only day, was standing out on an open range in the sunlight, sending arrows at 40 yards into a pie plate.
Yep.
After already shooting well over 100 arrows. So the average archer, if you send 100 arrows at 20 and 30 yards and then you walk out to 40, you're tired. You're tired. That pin float
Yes.
increases, you know, your fundamentals start to suffer, and you know, those groups widen. And to watch Dustin sit there and shoot like he had been shooting his entire life was just awesome.
I heard that thwack, that thud of the arrow on that 40-yard target, and I'm like, holy cow. Like at that point I was like, okay, we're doing like we just did the 20 and the 30. As the whole point is to get it there, and then we'll figure out the rest. But when I heard that thud, and then I hear you guys go, you hit the target. And I'm like, what?
Well,
I just was like, wow.
yeah. And a big shout out to Braden Galentine. Aaron referenced, you getting to shoot with the number one archer in the world, for indoor
And who would that
and
be?
outdoor.
And
Braden Galentine.
yeah.
And there's not a lot of archers at that level that would take the time, put their ego aside, and just sit down and coach you man to man, one on one, and share his knowledge to help you be successful. There's so much gatekeeping with a lot of those archers. They don't want to share their secret because they don't want to be dethroned. They want to stay number one. And Braden, to watch him interact with you out there on the range, I think he really set the tone for you and gave you what you needed to be able to execute that shot.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, let me preface that. It was not an hour of coaching.
No.
And it wasn't 2 hours of coaching. And I wouldn't even say it was coaching. But, well, you can say it was coaching. But anyway, he was with you for at least 8 hours, if not more. Mm-hmm. All day. He was on that range, giving tips, doing all, and yeah, it was, yeah.
He watched.
I don't want to say I was extremely impressed with him, because he is one of the most down-to-earth, solid people.
He is so humble.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't walk
was just, yeah.
like he's so good. He doesn't walk that way.
Yeah, and just look him up on the internet. I mean, and just to have that, and just to have GAS have him as a an option at their facility, and for the A3G grant to be able to, work with GAS and then have that opportunity, and for him to take 10 hours out of a work day, or 9 or whatever it was, to just focus on your success. I just sat back and giggled and watched this. I mean, I didn't know him before I got here, because I'm not into the target archery and 3D yet. But when I looked up him on the internet, I was like, oh yeah, when I was on the world tour and blah, and I'm like, holy, you go ahead and shoot, because I'm going to stand right behind him and collect all that information. Because we all strive to be better, and what he gives to to his coaching, and I think it was more mentoring than coaching yesterday.
Yeah.
I want to steal some of that, because we, as in the archery industry, don't get that almost ever.
No.
So I was listening, not so close, but I was listening to, the tips he was giving you, because I was employing those myself.
This other aspect that I thought was just incredible at this event you know, a lot of times you'll go places, be it an outdoor show or a TAC event or, you know, whatever it might be, you know, you spend all day together. And then come evening time, people want to go their own ways. Like if we've been together all day, or I have a family, or I have this, or I have that, or I've got to go catch up on work, you know, all this stuff. Like GAS, I mean, when they gave us the tour and they shared with us the volume of packages that they send out the door every day, I mean, that machine does not stop. And it's not just, they're not just a US based company. They are the Boast.
Say team because
Team.
the machines that they use,
it's fluid.
They're all hand built.
They're fluid.
Watching them hand build every single string and the guidelines that each builder has to go through, and each checkpoint for quality assurance and for, you know, what each archer needs. It was incredible.
And they enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
Like you could tell they enjoyed when they were making the strings.
So
Eric doesn't have employees. He's got a warehouse full of craftsmen.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So you take all of that after we've spent the day together. Usually, and we offered them to come to our Air BnB for dinner. And when I made the offer, I honestly figured it would be, we'll see if we can. And then when the time came, it was like, I mean, there's obligations in life, right? So when you're already dedicating an entire day to an organization, to dedicate then that same evening, that's a lot to ask for people, right? But not here. So we were there first thing in the morning. We were with them all day. They shifted things around on their calendar to keep that custom bowstring monster still filling orders, moving forward, you know, executing the greatness that GAS Bowstrings is worldwide. They spent that whole day with us, and then they came over here and they sat at the table in this Airbnb, and we all broke bread. We had dinner.
For several hours.
And the conversation and the things that we shared were, I mean, again, life-changing. But I want to quote Braden. We started talking about why GAS approached A3G and wanted to establish and host this event. And it's, I mean, Eric had the same and similar vision that we all had for the grant. It's not about just putting a bow in somebody's hand and then hosting them in Texas and letting you know, assisting them in punching a tag on a gorgeous whitetail. I mean, that's a dream of every hunter, is being able to go shoot a Pope and Young whitetail, right? And we can make that a reality. But the intent of the grant is to leverage archery for mental and physical quality of life. And Eric came to us and said, hey, you know, we want to host this event so that we're not just filling a tag, we're establishing a foundation, and we're starting that journey for that person. We're truly pointing that needle north, and we're sending them down the archery trail to leverage archery for mental and physical health quality of life. We did that here, and we talked about that last night. I mean, and I think
it was a very teary-eyed conversation.
Was teary-eyed? My ass. I was wiping my nose.
The chef cut all those onions in the kitchen.
Yeah. You know, I tabled the thought that if the A3G had to cut an event in the future, if GAS is going to keep doing this, which the rumor is that we are, that if 2025, due to time or funding, you know, we were like, okay, we can only do one event. We're looking at the GAS event, or we're doing the hunt. In my opinion, we cut the hunt, because what happened here is far more impactful on somebody's life. You know, somebody can, in follow-on years, they can go hunt, they can go field tags. You cannot replicate this. And Braden looked at me and he was like, we make archers, not memories here. And man, that hit me like a Mack truck.
It hit everybody. Everybody was absolutely silent.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, that's wow.
That's exactly what we did yesterday.
Yep.
And not only did we make an archer, we made like an incredible archer, like out shooting everybody that's sitting on this couch right now.
I'm not living this down.
No, it was impressive, man. You have the path ahead of you is so bright, and I'm really looking forward to getting on the range with you again at some point in time, and picking up little pebbles from you, because there's no doubt in my mind that by the time I meet you again in October, you hands down are probably going to outshoot me on Chris's range behind his shot. I mean, yesterday, the way I was shooting yesterday, you were outshooting me yesterday from the 20-yard line. I could not group yesterday the way you were grouping.
Yep.
Come October, as long as you keep sending that one arrow a day, like we talk about, there's no way that I'm going to be able to go toe-to-toe with you in Chris's backyard in October. It's just the fact of life. You exceed my capabilities, and I love it.
Yeah, and one of the important aspects of this grant is we are completely tied and dependent on the I don't want to say the charity of others, but we are completely tied to donations and funding and the opportunities that these companies are giving us bows and sights and all this stuff. But we really can't do this without the kindness of other people. And in order for this grant to continue to move forward, we need people to help this nonprofit grant to move forward, and maybe in the future, maybe we expand a little bit. I mean, that's not on the horizon at the moment, but we really need the kindness of others to keep this and allow these opportunities for these amputees to go out and shoot a bow. So anybody out there that knows someone who's really kind, we could obviously we don't ever want to degrade the grant.
Mm-hmm.
We always want to move forward. So that's why we create these relationships, not only our recipient, but with our bow industry counterparts, and maybe people that don't have anything to do with the industry that just want to help, because it's times like these, in times like these, that we really need help from people to make the dreams come true of folks that may never have that opportunity.
That was well put.
And we have Michael Warnick sitting here on the couch. He's our videographer for this event. Michael is a cousin of mine, and Michael is a recent graduate. He majored in videography and graphics design and film editing, and the young man is incredibly talented. And Michael is on the job hunt to start his post-university career, and rather than being at home right now, working on things that he needs to do to establish that career path, and he's establishing a career path here, but a paid position somewhere. He's here on more or less his own dime, filming this event on behalf of the grant, and to make this better, to provide us with advertisement material and social media content to help get this grant and 501c3 in front of other people, and more importantly, other amputees that can see Dustin, somebody that has the issues that you deal with every day, to pick up that bow and do what you're doing and realize that, wow, I didn't fill out that application earlier this year because I didn't think that I would be able to do that. And now I'm watching this guy do that. That could have been me. All I had to do was fill out the form. And so, I mean, it's not just Hoyt and GAS and HHA and Hot Shot and Lakewood bow cases.
Grizzly Coolers.
Chappelle, Eagle Claw Chappelle, Wilderness Athlete, Vortex Optics. Phelps Game Calls is going to donate a deer call. It's a Morel Targets. Michael Sims is a very talented carpenter as well. Made and donated a beautiful handmade burnt battle flag. Latitude Outdoors. I know we're
Defiance Ranch Racing.
Defiance Ranch Racing. It's Frontline Archery, 4 Arrows Outdoors, First Contact Outdoors. The list.
Black Ovis.
Black Ovis, Badlands.
4J Ranch.
4J. Yeah, I mean there's a list of folks that stand behind us in Myrick's. Hunting Day Coffee.
That's a big one.
Of all those folks that we just listed, all those companies, majority of them have been with us since year one.
VIP
Zinger,
broadheads.
Zinger and Canadieros, VIP broadheads, one stringer arrow wraps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as we sit here and
We're
talk,
probably forgetting somebody.
It takes a train
yeah,
to
Yep.
move the machine.
it does.
And,
Yep.
You know, like Sims was saying, and I've said this on previous podcasts. We have all the stuff we need.
Yes.
Well, we can never have enough
Well,
stuff.
Yeah.
We have the stuff we need to be successful.
Correct.
What we truly need to keep this going is funding. You know, whether it's a $20 donation or, you know, if you want to, however much you want to donate, that's up to you. But we need donations and we need applicants. And in order to get that, well, the bottom line is we need it shared. We need everybody to share this, share the social media content. And when Michael Warnock gets done with the video from this trip, that's gonna be huge.
I think so too.
It's gonna be powerful, Ritter.
Powerful. That's
Powerful.
that was the word from last year's hunting event, and it still resonates with what we're doing today. This is to be here, to experience it,
Yeah.
the fellowship, the camaraderie, the support, the execution, and there's things that took place here that we're not going to talk about on camera, but when we say that it's truly life-changing, the conversations that we've had as a collective group right here on this couch, and then shifting over into shooting that first arrow, and then realizing that, wow, this is truly happening. It's real. And I can take everything that I'm doing through every single shot cycle, and I can apply that to aspects of my life, and not just life in general, but evolutions, tasks, desires, needs. I can take that whole process of every time I draw my bow back and I'm going through my shot cycle, I can apply that to my activities, and I can move myself in a forward direction and no longer remain where I was. And we started throwing around the methodology the other night of, as an amputee, you can depart somebody with 2 thoughts. And this is real. Mm-hmm. I've never really communicated it this way, but this is 100% what happens. As an amputee, you interact with somebody and then you depart, walk away, roll away, whatever it is, however you move away from that person, and they are going to have one of 2 afterthoughts in their mind. And it may not even be an afterthought, it's like in their face. They're thinking to themselves, either I knew he or she could not do that, or they stand there and they watch you move away thinking, how in the world did they just do that? Those are the 2 options that we have as an amputee. And yesterday, you left the range with everybody looking at you thinking, how did he just do that?
Yep.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Speaking of the range,
It's time. You guys ready?
We need Chef Boyardee over here to whip up breakfast so we can go sling some arrows.
All right.
I do
Well,
want to give one shout out though. I just want to make sure Aaron, the bow builder at GAS.
Aaron Adams.
Yeah, Aaron Adams. He's a bow builder, but that's not what he does at GAS. But the time that he took to build that bow and tune it and get everything set, and he helped us out. He helped a couple others with our bows while we were there. But absolutely phenomenal bow builder, absolutely phenomenal tuner. Understands, and the cool thing is he understands their strings. So when he's putting the peep in and when he's putting all this stuff on, he knows how their specific strings react, and that's how he builds and puts the peep in and all, because he knows exactly how. So I got to change out my peep and get a new string because I had some issues with mine, but completely different way of tying stuff on. And he's like, you're never gonna have to worry about that peep side turning ever again. It's just gonna, because this is the way we build our stuff. This is the way it's gonna, and absolutely changed the way I shot, which is why my arrows are scared of the target, because I need to do a couple more adjustments. But I want to make sure he got a shout out because he spent 10 hours yesterday tuning Dustin's bow and making sure that thing was exactly where it needed to be and getting the part we needed for the bow side, or the rest. And so absolutely solid dude. I really enjoyed chatting with him.
It was so awesome working with him because he's like he explained all of it.
Yeah,
But he smiled while doing it.
It was a smile while doing it.
And Sarah Moore, she assisted Mike in capturing B-roll and stills, and again, I mean, a very talented archer and just great group of people to be around. Yeah, they did.
Yep.
We all sat there and had venison spaghetti and chatted and shared our favorite moments from this event and pretty much paved the way for future events and established a relationship with Dustin. And literally, you have 4 highly competitive archers sitting at that table. One of them being the best archer in the world, compound archer in the world, potentially the best in history, sitting at the table, having a conversation with Dustin. Eric Griggs is, a very accomplished archer. Sarah, accomplished archer.
Eric said, hey, Dustin,
Yeah.
here is my personal phone
Yes.
number. You have to call me because I'm going to check up to make sure.
Yep.
He said, this journey, because you leave here, this journey with us here at this table is not over.
Invited him back.
And invite you back. Come on down,
Yep.
use the range, and we'll tune and
Yep.
we'll shoot. And I believe in my heart that a lot of people give you mouth service.
Yeah.
But everybody at that table last night, you're extremely lucky that they were all absolutely genuine and they want to continue the journey to help you be successful in what you do.
Yep. So we'll close this out. I am going to mention the show sponsors, but here's the cool part. The sponsors that I pursued for this podcast, I didn't pursue them for any monetary return on behalf of the Limitless podcast or myself. And I mention this in almost every podcast, but I do so with intent. Those companies, I use their products. I rely on their products. And I like what those companies stand for. And those companies are Hunting Day Coffee, On Point Adventure Foods, Vortex Optics, Wilderness Athlete, the Love Sauce. Holy cow.
HHA?
No,
No?
my mind always goes blank. I'm a train wreck when I start talking about my sponsors.
You always forget one of them.
I do every single time, and I never put them out there in the same order. Who am I forgetting? This is terrible. I'm gonna have to edit this out. I am just horribly embarrassed right now.
Thanks to all the sponsors of the Limitless podcast.
No, this is terrible. Not only do they sponsor this show, they all sponsor the grant. And again, it is those sponsors for the show, for this podcast, they are there for listeners' benefit. It doesn't benefit me at all in any way, shape, or form. And they sponsor the grant. in return is it's not benefiting me, it's benefiting individuals like Dustin. And we choose one person a year, and that is because what we provide that one person is we want to focus on making them the priority for that year, making them feel like they are the most important person in the entire world when they are reacting with the A3G Initiative team. And that team is everybody.
Oh, Phelps game calls.
Thank you. How did I forget Phelps? Jason and Dirk aren't going to let me live that one down.
No.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Sorry, boys. But no, it's being a part of such a large group of people and companies that want to give back. And so with that said, we'll close this out like I always do. Be limitless, boys.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
You're not limited to the kitchen. Let's go.